Hello, my name is Linda Downey. I want to welcome you to this master class on how you can release the stress and the suffering that you've been living in. How can you actually release it for good? Because that is absolutely possible. So we're going to dive right in just a moment. And before we do that, I just want to be clear about who this class is for so that you know that you're in the right place, okay? So this class is for you if you're a woman who has been feeling really stuck and overwhelmed in your life. Maybe it's been just recently, the last few months or a year, or maybe it's been for 20 years, but you're really feeling overwhelmed. If you are a woman who has had things happen to you in your life that you didn't see coming, and those things have knocked you to your knees and you haven't been able to get back up again, this class is for you. All right, so that's who I'm speaking to, and I'm excited to get started. Before we actually go into all of it, I just want to again tell you who I am. My name is Linda Downey. I'm a transformational health coach. I'm a whole life coach, a functional medicine practitioner. I have a master's in exercise physiology, and I have been working in the field of health and wellness for 40 years now with really hundreds and hundreds of people. And right now it is my joy to work specifically with women, specifically in the area of stress, overwhelm, burnout, and feeling stuck in their life. So in this class, my intention is to give you a step-by-step game plan to help you finally get out of suffering, all right? So what that means is we're going to look and see why successful women like you, women committed to having a great life, still feel so overwhelmed and burned out. I want you to understand why your life keeps feeling so stuck. Like the situations may change, the circumstances may change, the people may change, but your experience of your life stays the same. My intention is that you see how all the pieces of you fit together, like the three parts of you as a human being, your mind, body, and spirit, how they connect, and especially if disconnect is a way that you would describe your life, like maybe you feel disconnected from your true self, from who you remember yourself to be when you were younger, or disconnected in the important relationships in your life, like with your partner or with your kids. There's just a disconnect there. And also, I want to create the possibility with you that the events of your past, those things that did really knock you to your knees, whether it was loss, betrayal, like a divorce, or somebody left, or they passed away and you've been stuck in grief, things just didn't go the way you planned, whatever that is, that you can take that as a catalyst to propel your life forward in a different direction rather than being stuck there. Okay? And this way, when you can do all of that and see how that works, you can reclaim your life back. You can get your energy and vitality. You'll see time coming back, having joy in your life again, feeling connected in your relationships. Your health is going to improve. All of the things that you're wishing you had, but you just don't see how to create it. You just don't know what to do. And really, when you get out of that pain brain that you're in, that stuck looping worry thoughts, the things that keep you awake at night when you put your head on the pillow and you feel like a failure and you feel exhausted and there's nothing left for you, there's no way for you to see possibilities for your future when you're stuck there. So my promise to you today is that you're going to see that you don't have to stay stuck there. And you're going to see what you need to do to get out of there. All right, so that's my promise. If you stick with me throughout this class, that you're going to get today. So let me ask you first, does this sound like you? So grab a piece of paper and a pen. I want you to take some notes on this, actually maybe throughout the whole class, but just if any of these resonate with you, just jot these down. Do you feel like your whole life is work and obligations? That consumes you. There's not really any time or energy left for you. You don't really recharge your body or your spirit, and you don't even get a chance to enjoy what you're working so hard to attain. Does this sound like you? You take on more than most other people. Even if you don't mean to, somehow it ends up on your plate and you didn't even ask for it. Has it been so long since you remember really feeling joy or ever feeling connected to people? It's kind of like on the surface, but not underneath, and you know it. And there's an underlying sadness. It could be sadness, it could be anger, it could be resentment, but there's a thread that runs throughout your life and it doesn't feel good and you don't want it there. Have you had really, really hard things to deal with in your life? Really difficult things that a lot of other people haven't had to do, and it's left you really feeling alone, left you really feeling stuck. And has your health been challenged and you try to figure it out, you try new things, you go to the doctor, and it just feels like no matter what you do, it doesn't get better, at least not all the way better. And let me ask you, okay, it's just you and I here talking. You don't have to tell anybody else, but do you find ways to numb out from yourself, from your life? You really feel like you've lost yourself, and that feeling has you maybe taking alcohol, using alcohol more nights a week than you'd like to. Maybe it's comfort foods, even though you try a new diet a few days in or 2 weeks in, boom, there you are eating those foods again. Maybe you really get lost in hours and hours of social media, or you binge on those episodes on Netflix of whatever your show is. Maybe you even do things that seem, okay on the outside, like you exercise, but you over-exercise. It's like a compulsion, and it's more than what you need or should do. Or maybe shopping. Whatever it is, you numb out to not be noticing what your life is really like. And if you feel like you're going through the motions every day, right? It's the same thing every day, or maybe you feel really guilty because on the outside it looks pretty good. You've got things, but you still feel really fractured on the inside. And you wish life was different, just easier, happier, that you actually had love for yourself, but you can't figure it out. And I would say the biggest thing is that you worry that life is passing you by, and this is all it's ever going to be. It's not going to get better. You're secretly really scared that this is just going to keep getting worse and worse. More health issues are going to accumulate since you can't turn around the ones that you have. Life is going to feel harder because it keeps heading in that direction. And here's what I want to tell you. None of that is the problem, okay? Those are only symptoms of the problem. The real problem is that you need to make these 5 critical shifts in order to get your life back. So I'm going to share those with you, these 5 shifts. And when you make these shifts, then you're going to see what are the patterns and behaviors that you need to let go of, your patterns that keep you feeling so overwhelmed. When you make these shifts, you're able to find the balance in who you are. It'll bring your health and vitality back around, and your body will start responding. It'll turn off those symptoms that keep plaguing you. You'll get away from that constant stress and worry. Like again, when you lay your head on the pillow. When you make these shifts, you're going to find how releasing the pain of your past and the traumas that have hurt you will make such a difference. These 5 shifts will show you that stopping the patterns and the choices that have been driving you keep you in constant stress, and give you the tools and the insight to calm your body, change the way you see things so that you can navigate your life as the captain of your ship, not like a little rowboat that's being tossed around in the water in a storm, all right? These 5 shifts help you step into a future that is created by you, not a default repeat of your past, the same things over and over. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about how I discovered this process. Really, my own journey. I've been in health and wellness for 40 years. I always knew it was a passion of mine, and that had a lot to do with how I grew up. I lost my mother to an autoimmune condition when I was 4 years old. My dad was an alcoholic, so I grew up in an alcoholic household, and I had my own significant struggles with autoimmune conditions. I had loss. My daughter passed away several years ago. I've had a lot of massive, overwhelming stress. So I was committed to health and wellness and really struggling. And in my clients as well, when I became a functional health practitioner, because I went that route for my own health when I didn't feel better with conventional medicine, and then I started working with people on diet and detoxing and all the things, but I saw with my clients as well as my own self that addressing this stuck stress in the body, these cycles of overwhelm, and the past traumas were a critical piece to make any of those other strategies work. And they were also a critical piece in how happy people felt, how disconnected or connected they felt, and their own personal joy. So it was really throughout my own life and then seeing with my clients. And so I kept going back to school. I kept looking for the answers. I knew in my bones that life was not meant to be this hard. I just knew it. So I really was committed to leaving no stone unturned until I could find all of the pieces, connect all of the dots, not just some of them, so that mind, body, and spirit are working together. When all three of those are in order, then people really can have a great life. All right, so having said all of that, let's dive in and get going with these shifts. So the first shift is really owning it, really owning your life and your responsibility in that. And sometimes people aren't so happy to hear that as the first shift, but I promise you, if you get nothing else out of this class but the concept that I own my life and my choices and my body 100%, then you will get a huge gift out of this class. Excuse me. So that's the first shift, is really taking you to a place of ownership and responsibility. Okay, so that means figuring out your go-to patterns. They automatically kick in. It's like you're on autopilot. Maybe you're a perfectionist. Maybe you're a control freak. Maybe you say yes to everything and everyone. Maybe you take on everybody else's burdens, okay? Also, seeing that your choices, the choices that you have made in relationships, the choices that you have made for the jobs you've chosen to go after, all of those choices come from the beliefs that you have about yourself, what you think is possible for you in your own mind, and what you think you are worthy of receiving. So owning that. Okay? And then understanding that the emotions that you spend a lot of your time in, the emotions that are in your body, they have a big part of keeping you stuck. So that means really giving up the fact that you're right about people who hurt you, right about the things that have wronged you, giving up being right in order to live in peace. So that's the choice that you make when you own your life. And really deciding that you are bigger than your circumstances. You are bigger than your fears, and you are bigger than your past. Because if you're a person who goes for quick fixes, like, you know what, I just need a vacation, or I just need to put in like 1 day a week, I go out to dinner, or I cut my work week down, or I'm going to do yoga, all of those things, you're staying stuck because those are external things. Those are things outside of you. That's not what's in you. The gold to your life is inside. The gold is your beliefs, your patterns, your emotions that are being held in your body. When you crack that code, then all of the riches in the world are available to you, right? Like that's where the gold is. But if you don't crack that code, nothing really changes and you keep winding up with another version of the same thing. So, you could change your job, get a different boss, move. You could get divorced, do another relationship, whatever. You could wait till your kids move out and you can just, then not have anybody else to worry about. But here's what I want you to think of. Wherever you go, there you are. You bring you with you, right? So changing any of those things, you still bring you to the party. And that really makes me think of Renee. Renee, on the right here is an excerpt from an email that Renee sent me. And I had to include the part where she says, I love you and will forever be grateful, because it makes my heart happy. But she sent that, and then she started to share some of her outcomes of the work that she did in her work with me, in our partnership together. And when she called me, she was ready to quit her job, and she loved her job, but she couldn't make it through the day. She was so overwhelmed. She did not sleep at night. That had been going on for months, and she was really, really distraught about it. She had no energy during the day. She was exhausted. It was affecting her marriage, as you can imagine. And then other health issues were also present, digestive issues, other things that could not get better, right? But Renee knew, she knew that it was her own perceptions and her own beliefs, and she courageously took them on. As she shared, she was living a life of fear, and that fear was of her own creation. So Renee is a great example of somebody who decided to take responsibility, give up a victim consciousness, and really own her life, and she did. That brings me to the next shift number 2, which is you've got to be able to identify your patterns and why you have them, because you can change your conscious thoughts, but your unconscious patterns are what really run your life. So let me tell you what I mean by that. There's several patterns that women typically fall into, and these are women who are successful, they get things done, they are, handling a lot in their life, but they might be typically one of these things. So a perfectionist, it always has to be perfect. The yes girl who can't say no to anybody or anything. The shapeshifter. A shapeshifter is someone who tries to figure out what other people want her to be, and then she figures out how to do that. So she keeps changing herself in order to meet other people's criteria. The head of the class person is someone who needs to always have that front row seat, be the one. But not everybody can be the one all the time. So when it doesn't happen and doesn't go that way, it's very upsetting for that person. Also, there's the pack horse. That's the person who takes on the burdens of other people in order to make their life easier, but it makes their own life so much harder. And finally, the good girl. A good girl is somebody who doesn't want to rock the boat. She doesn't speak up because she thinks being quiet is just going to make it easier for everybody. So these are, I'm going to call them pitfalls, because they become a place that we really get locked and stuck, right? So when we get locked into these different patterns, these different profiles, we lose our power. And then we end up being really burnt out. We're frustrated. We feel alone. Any one of those, you're going to end up feeling really alone. You're carrying everybody's burden. You're keeping your mouth shut and not rocking the boat. You're saying yes to everything. It's all a very lonely place to live, and a very overwhelming place to live. And these patterns in your life really block you from getting the life that you want. They are a big part of why you're feeling so stuck, right? What's so interesting is that these patterns started from somewhere in your life, usually early childhood. Somewhere you decided, if I just do things perfectly, then I'm going to get a lot of love. Or if I keep my mouth shut and I don't rock the boat, then nobody's going to be angry and the house will stay calm. Or if I take on other people's burdens, those people can't handle life, so I'm going to take on their burdens for them and help them. So somewhere it started out as a good thing, but it became your burden, right? Just like Atlas here with the weight of the world on his shoulders. It started out as a great coping tool and it worked, but then it became the thing that stopped you. And so what I'm talking about is really rewiring the automatic pilot of those patterns. And it's a pretty simple concept, but it is not easy to do because it's really been wired into you and your whole approach to life. But you want to be able to identify and get out in front of these patterns. And this shift reminds me of Barb. So this is beautiful Barb. She is a wife, she's a mom, her kids are grown. She was running an organization for several years, recruiting, training new team members. She loved what she did. She loved being a mom and a wife. She's got a great family. But when she came to me, she was exhausted. She would get to 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and be strategizing on how to get through the rest of the day. She didn't sleep well. As soon as her head hit the pillow, she thought about what she needed to do. As soon as she got up in the morning, and what she forgot to do during the day would go around and around in her head. So sleep was very elusive, and that made her body hold on to weight. Because when we are in stress mode and we've got cortisol running through our body all the time, which is why you can't get to sleep at night, then you can't lose weight. It affects metabolism. And Barb was avoiding the things that she used to enjoy. She, was avoiding people, and it really made her sad because her life was great. She has a great family. She was doing things that she loved. She didn't know why she was feeling so sad, but tears came to her eyes pretty easily. And so what Barb had to do was figure out what were the boundaries that she needed, that she hadn't been putting in place, why she hadn't been. And then she was able to turn off that pain brain or the monkey mind, whatever you want to call it, those looping thoughts. Once she was put the boundaries in place, she could turn those off at night. And then her body started to respond. When she got the sleep and she got the rest and she got herself out of stress, her body started to release the weight. She felt happy again. Her friends were telling her, I noticed like you weren't yourself for a while, which kind of bummed her out because she thought she was really bringing her A game, but it was quite noticeable. People can tell in your life. They may be used to seeing you that way, but they can tell if you're feeling overwhelmed. You can only hide it for so long. So she's really happy to not be feeling that way anymore. And again, it was getting to her patterns that made her realize what she needed to do. Okay, that brings us to shift number 3. Shift number 3 is really releasing the past. Because if we don't complete and release the past, it will always keep showing up in front of us as our future. So the past events of our life, the things that happened even as far back as childhood, those things will keep showing up. It becomes the way that our life is. And a big reason for that is that the emotions that you experienced during those events. So let's just say a divorce. When you were a kid, your parents got divorced. The emotions that you experienced during that divorce stay stuck in your body. So it's an actual energy. Every emotion has an energy. So if it was anger, or if it was fear or sadness, the energy of those emotions, even though it's been 30 years and you haven't necessarily even been thinking about that, or it certainly became just part of your life, but the energy of those emotions have stayed in your body. And let's just say it's anger. If you have the energy of anger in your body, you're more likely to feel angry easier. Anger shows up a whole lot easier than it would if it wasn't stuck in your body. So the way that we deal with the past, there's an old way that people used to really deal with the past, and then there's a new way that I'm going to share with you. And the old way had, people going to therapy, and there's nothing wrong with therapy. It can be great for a lot of things. But in terms of healing the past, therapy typically gives coping tools. It'll give you strategies and coping tools. And then what happens is you're stuck always coping, right? So you're still dealing with your past, you're just coping with it in different ways. The old way of dealing with your past is to take away the toxic problem. So if it was a person, stay away from them. If it was a situation, change it. Except that that energy that I talked about stays in your body. So you can change and get away from the toxicity of whatever was in your life in the past, but again, the energy is still there. And there are things like forgiveness. And listen, forgiveness is always a great tool. So forgiveness on any level is better than not forgiving. But the traditional methods of forgiveness will help you, but you'll still stay in a victim consciousness, which means you'll still be feeling like, okay, I forgave you, but what you did hurt me. Your choices, your behaviors impacted my life negatively. That's a victim consciousness. So while forgiveness is powerful, it doesn't fully empower you in the traditional sense. There are some other ways to employ forgiveness. But the old way keeps you, as I said, forever coping, avoiding your triggers, trying to calm yourself when you have the memories that come up. The old way keeps that energy in your body. It doesn't even really address it. So your thoughts and emotions are still being affected by that energy. And therefore, the old way of dealing with the past doesn't really stop it from coming into your future. It really allows it to still be creating your life instead of you creating your life. Now, the new way actually transforms how you view your past. So you actually get to take yourself out of victim consciousness and stop seeing your life as the result of what others did. That's a hugely powerful way to view your life. It's very transformative. The new way teaches you how to move those negative emotional energies out of your physical body so that you can create a new emotional home state. So when I say emotional home state, it's like if you notice most days for a good part of the day, you're angry or you're frustrated or you just have a sense of sadness. That's your home state, your emotional home state. When we get that energy out, then you can choose a different home state. You can choose peace as your emotional home state throughout most of the day. You can choose joy as your emotional home state. You get to choose once you clear that stuff out. And that opens up possibilities to you when you're, stuck in that pain brain and in those patterns. You can't see possibilities. It's not even, available to you. You're just really repeating the past. So the new way rewires your thinking. It's a transformational way to live. You rewire how you think and perceive your life, and that transforms your life. And what do I mean by that? Transformation means that you create something that wasn't there before. There was no possibility before you transformed something. Transformation means completely calling into a new existence, something that was not previously possible when you had the old ways of thinking and feeling. It just wasn't going to be possible. But without those old ways, now you can create something completely new. So you're not changing anything, you're not dealing with anything, you're not improving anything. You're actually creating something brand new that wasn't there before. And in this case, it's creating your life that wasn't there before. And that makes me think of Carol. So this is beautiful Carol. I love this picture of her. And Carol, well, let me tell you what she said. Carol said, I've had anxiety all of my life, and I've always believed that I am hardwired to be a worrier. She just thought that's how she was for 70 years. As a result, stress has always been my greatest health robber. It shows up as anger when life doesn't go as expected. So she had pain in her back and her hips and in her scoliosis curve. And she was always wanting to force and control the outcomes. And when she couldn't, she would be angry. But she moved out of that and became open to other possibilities. She transformed how she looked at her life, and she realized that she wasn't hardwired to be a worrier. She rewired how she thinks. She now takes weekly nature walks and with conversations with her loved one, and that's a big deal because he has Alzheimer's. And that always kept her sad. It always was in the space between them. But now, those visits and those walks have become a fun and powerful way for them to connect with each other. So it's actually transformed his life as well as hers. And as I said, Carol had 70 years of thinking from a place of anxiety. She lived her life from a place of anxiety. And she always wanted to control everything. She was angry when she couldn't, and that affected her whole life. But she transformed her life, and now her partner's life is different as well. So that's the power of transforming and rewiring your thinking. So here's shift number 4. Shift number 4 is all about getting the alignment of who you are as a human being back into the picture. So aligning your body, mind, and spirit. Because when you're in stress mode and you're feeling overwhelmed, they are not working together. You're like disconnected and decompartmentalized. That's why you feel disconnected. There's like a chaos going on in your body. Your brain's doing one thing with all different compartments in the brain, and then your feelings are doing something else, right? And your body is trying to figure out what your feelings and your thoughts are telling it. So there's no alignment going on. And life doesn't get better just by chance. Like that just doesn't show up, alignment by itself. You've got to change in order to help that happen. But when you do, when you can identify where you disconnected, like how that out of alignment happened, then you can learn again how to love the life that you're creating. Right now, you're not loving it because you're not really creating it. You're just surviving. So it really means when you get that alignment that you get some clarity on what you really want. You can't have clarity when you're living chaotically and everything's all over the place. The only way to get clarity is to get that into alignment so that you can actually look from a place that's working together to get your answers. And so together in the Return, Restore, Renew program, we figure all of that out. We figure out what triggers you to get you back into those patterns. What are the issues for you and how we're going to heal them. We partner with you on returning to love for yourself, loving your body, the most important relationships in your life, your job, really the life that you're living. All of that is what we go after so that you can become the navigator for your life. Instead of sitting in the back seat while an autopilot drives your life, you actually get into the driver's seat and figure it out, okay? And together we figure out how to help that happen for you. It's so important that we clear that blocked energy, okay? Because illness happens in your body when that energy field is blocked. When those emotions get stuck in your body, it blocks the energy field. And that disrupts, even at a cellular level, the function of your body. And that body field, that energy field, is so important for your health. But it's also important for your whole life. Like getting that mind, body, and spirit back into alignment, getting your energy field clear, that's where you become powerful in your life. That's where you get to cause the relationships that you really want, rather than getting relationships that are the same old, not making you happy. That's where you really step into jobs and work that light you up. All right, that's where your power comes back. So before we finish up with shift 5, just look and see, is this resonating with you? Which one of these things do you think has the biggest impact in your life? Is it your past, healing your past traumas? Is it the way you think and your patterns that you automatically go to and then get stuck in? Is it emotions and that the energy of those emotions that have been staying in your body? What is it? Is it the out of alignment of your body, mind, and spirit? Like you haven't even been paying attention to keeping that in alignment. So, which of those things do you think are most impactful for you? And that will take me into shift number 5. And that is really, it's time to invest in a mentor because, trying to do it by yourself is really, really difficult. All right. And here's why, actually. So when we look at these circles, the circle on the left, the light blue circle, those are all the things in that circle. If this was all of knowledge that you have, all your knowledge, the circle on the left would be the things that like you know how to cook a chicken, you know how to drive a car, you know how to read a book, right? Everything that you know how to do is there on the left. In the middle, where it says known unknowns, that's everything that you know that you don't know how to do. Like I know that I don't know how to speak Russian. I know that I don't know how to fix a car. I know that I don't know how to cook Asian food very well. Not really at all. So I know what I don't know. And if I wanted to learn it, I could go out and find it. I could look up a YouTube video. I could buy a book. I could take a class. So that's what you do with the things that you know you don't know. Where transformation happens is over here on the right in the gray circle. That's where you really transform your life in your blind spots, which are the things that you don't even know that you don't know. Because if you knew that you didn't know it, you could just go figure it out. But your blind spots, you don't even know what you don't know. It's like, when you drive a car and somebody's in your blind spot, right? You put your blinker on and you start to merge to the next lane and all of a sudden there's a horn blaring because there was a car right there that you didn't see. Totally didn't see, completely invisible. That's your blind spot. So you cannot see your own blind spots. You don't know what you don't know. So mentorship is going to provide clarity around your blind spots. It's like you can't read the label on the outside of a jar if you're standing in the jar. You need someone on the outside to read you the instructions on the label on how to get out. Otherwise, you're stuck there because you can't even see the other side of the label. So you want clarity around your blind spots. Mentorship gives you access to traits you didn't know you had. Like Carol didn't know that she could do anything other than worry. She thought she was a worrier until she realized she wasn't, right? Mentorship gives you accountability because it's going to be very easy, initially anyway, to slip back into your familiar patterns. Mentorship gives you feedback. How's it going? What's the next step to take? What do you need to focus on? What are you not seeing there? And the journey and the knowledge and the experience that a mentor brings to your table because they've already been down the road is so invaluable because it really saves you the time, the energy, the frustration, and the resources of trying to do it by yourself. The frustration comes from you can't read the label from the inside of the jar, right? So those are all the things that mentorship provides. Now, how do you find the right mentor for you? Well, you want someone who has proven results in the area that you're looking to create change in, right? So you want somebody who actually has done exactly, for this conversation, this kind of work. You want someone who's accessible, right? Like Tony Robbins may be an amazing mentor and coach, but he only works with like Oprah Winfrey. You don't have access to Tony Robbins, or maybe you do, but most people don't. So you want somebody who's really there and available for you. And then I think it's also really important to check your internal compass. Like, what does your body tell you? Does it feel right? If it doesn't feel right, listen to that. It's not a fit for you. All right, that's how you find the right mentor for you. So now you have a choice, okay? You have a choice. And let's talk about that because, on the one hand, if you make the changes, what would you do with your time and your energy? Who else besides you would benefit from you having a happy and stress free version of yourself? Certainly you're going to benefit, but there's got to be other people in your life who are also going to benefit. And who would that be? What would it be like to live in a body that feels better and more vital? And how would it be if your days were spent feeling more at peace, more happy, and capable of coping, right? That's available to you. Or you can keep going as you are. You can keep shoving down, your frustration and your upset. You can keep trying to cope with things, especially using things that you know aren't good for you, like alcohol or food. You can keep feeling stuck in circumstances that you don't want to be in. It's really up to you, right? It's up to you to decide which path you want to choose. But I want you to know that I really want this for you. I want this change and this transformation and this possibility for you in your life because we only get one life. But I can't want it for you. You have to decide for yourself. So if you want to have a conversation about that, for the next 48 hours or so, my team and I have left some slots open on our calendar. And here's the link. You can click right here and get to the calendar. There's also a button below that you can click, either way, whatever's easiest for you. But if you want to have a conversation about it, then go ahead and do that. And let me tell you what that's going to look like. So we've set aside some time to talk just for you. It's going to be about an hour or so. And on this call, together, we're going to take a look at what would it take to get your life back into balance? What would it take to prioritize the things that are the most important for you? Together, we're going to identify where you're at right now. We're going to really dig in and get some detail, okay? So, you want to make sure you set aside that time if you book the call. Together, we're going to look at where do you want to go? And then we're going to uncover right there on the call what's been blocking you from getting where you want to go. What's in the way of you living the life that you want? On the call, I really want you to leave with clarity about what you need to do, specifically you, to address your life, how you operate in your life, how to stop feeling so exhausted and burned out, and how this is pulling you away from your best life. I want you to get some clarity on the tools and freedom that it's going to take to create the life that you want. So let me just be clear about who this call is for, because we don't have unlimited slots, all right? And we really want to speak to some specific people. And here's what I'm asking. If you're a woman who's committed to having a great life, really a better life than what you've been experiencing so far, or maybe that you haven't had for a long time, if you don't want to ignore your inner happiness anymore, right? That's been at the expense of what you're doing on the outside, and you don't want to do that anymore. If you're tired of living out of balance and you're feeling exhausted, if you think things look good on the outside, but they're not on the inside, kind of like I always think of Princess Diana when I say that, right? Like her life looked amazing, but inside she was really in pain. And you don't want to settle for a life like that. You do not want to be living your life like that. You don't want to stay stuck. You don't want to spend one more minute in a life that feels that way. You want to have a well-lived life in a healthy body. And I'm also going to say you're a good person, because I'm opening up my calendar. It's a free call, and I'm going to spend an hour with you. So I'm hoping you're a good person. So if that's you, go ahead and book a call with me or my team. As I said, we have a limited number of calls. Here's that link again. And after you click that link, you're going to be taken to a calendar page. You're going to find the spot that works for you. If you can't find a spot, then you can definitely send me a message. Reply to the email from this class, and I'll figure out a time that works for you. And You'll be filling out a couple of questions which are going to help us really dive in right away. So, please take the time to fill out those questions. And then also make sure when you're on the call that you have the time and the space and the privacy to be in the call. I'm going to clear my life and my calendar to be on my end of the call with you or someone from my team. So I'm just asking that you do the same, okay? And then together, we can really get you back to a place of living life the way that you want to live it. All right, so thank you so much for this time out of your life. I hope that this was beneficial, that you can see how these particular shifts will make all the difference for you. Again, my name was Linda Downey, and I'm just really happy and grateful to spend this time with you, and I'm wishing you a really, really great life. Take care.